Good morning, my name is Graham Bailey. I've been working with the Formula Student UK team since 1998. I've been involved with cost and manufacturing, cost control, cost estimating and cost engineering for about 47 years. And I'm currently working with Bentley Motors. I'm going to take you through a perspective from the niche vehicle manufacturers' point of view regarding the control of costs, and that goes right through from setting the targets to achieving the targets at start of production. So what we're looking for with Formula Student is an excellent start. This is on your cost journey, an excellent start, a good middle, and an award-winning end at the presentation and judging sessions. What I'm going to be talking about through these slides that you'll be seeing are examples of the business case target setting processes, the material cost control techniques, and the management of those costs through the process of the product emergence plan for a niche vehicle manufacturer like yourselves. How does it all begin? Well, it all begins with a product profile generally. This is an overview of what the product will be, its key attributes, its unique selling points, its performance requirements, and more importantly, its competitors in the marketplace, so you know what you're up against. There's various information that goes into that, but you'll be able to see that on the slides as you go through this presentation. I'm going to present to you a number of product emergence plans, product plans, and these are all available on the internet. They're all public domain. So download them yourselves, have a look at them, and just see where the start of the cost input goes within the program. It's right at the very beginning, pre-concept, just to make sure that the business case is as robust as it can be, and you have a good target to work towards at the end of your project. There are various product plans here. I've got examples from Lotus, Porsche, and Bentley that you can follow and make your own up from those sort of formats. Okay, the key cost engineering activities involve target setting, first of all, and getting that right, because if it's not right, if the target is too high that you set for your project and the business goes ahead, well, in fact, it wouldn't go ahead, because if it's too high, the chances are that the board of management or whoever's looking at the project would cancel that project, because they don't see any profit at the end of the day. If you put your estimates and targets too low, and it looks as though you could make a fair profit for the program, and it goes ahead and it's wrong, your business can fold very easily. So we're looking at the target setting processes, and then more importantly, the target achievement. There's no point having good targets if you can't achieve them. And we'll be looking at the techniques and methods to achieve those targets, from cost engineering workshops, gathering all the parties together to understand what they need to be doing to have best in class and best value for their products, best designs. We're looking at the various value engineering, value analysis techniques, the cost estimating role, the cost controlling and reporting activities that you need to do, the quotation analysis. Don't just accept what your suppliers tell you, sense check them, and then the supplier negotiation involvement by yourselves to support your procurement activities. Okay, it's all about balancing needs. You have the design needs, the design needs to have an excellent vehicle, a high performance vehicle, but at the same time it has to be profitable, or again it just won't work. So we'll just be looking at some of the target techniques now. Ideally, your car, whatever it may be, in this case a car, race car, if we could just cost out what it is from the bought out cost that you have to pay, add the profit markup that you'd like, that'd be wonderful. That becomes your selling price with all the markups included. However, the world's not like that. you have competitors, and those competitors set what you can, where you can place your pricing in the marketplace. If your competitors are lower than your targets that you set to achieve the business case you want, again, you won't be selling many vehicles. All it does is compress your profit opportunity if you can't reduce your costs or control your costs right at the very beginning. So when we look to set targets in the automotive industry, we go from two standpoints: a top-down point of view, looking at the benchmark from current vehicles or competitive vehicles or historical vehicles that you've manufactured at universities. And then we also work from a bottom-up, based on what we'd like from a design point of view. How much will this cost, or should it cost? Usually there's a gap between what the market top-down price comes out at and what your fully developed estimate cost will be, and that gap has to be reduced so that your bottom-up costs match what the target will accept. We're focusing on materials and processes at time, and it's very much an arm wrestle match between your various functions and modules within your team to ensure that you compromise as best as possible to get down to that top-down target that you need to achieve to match up with your competitors. Okay, so we've set our targets. They're robust and they are probable, feasible for your project. Let's move on to target achievement. How do we make those targets work and ideally beat them at the end of the program? One thing that's important is that the whole team understands the importance of costs, and your cost people could ideally be running cost workshops, cost awareness workshops, explaining the role of cost within the business case and the value of control over that cost. You can be looking at the cost estimating and benchmarking activities that could take place, the value engineering and value analysis roles and design to cost support that you can be putting to your designs. Cost avoidance, very important. It's cost when you move into a cost reduction phase, it's really too late. If you can avoid putting cost in at the very beginning, you're not paying any tooling that you don't need, and you're not retooling or wasting time and resource. Controlling and reporting, again, most important. Everybody needs to know in your team where you are against your target. Monthly, weekly if need be. Be aware of any risks that are coming in and have opportunities identified to counter those risks. Because if you creep above that business case target that you've set yourselves at the beginning of the program, again, you'll be losing money for a long time once the program starts. And then quotation analysis, we mentioned this earlier. Quotation analysis is making sure that the offers that you're getting from your suppliers are fair and reasonable. Don't just accept what you're being told, and through universities as well, push to have some sort of sense check done on the prices that you're being quoted. Certainly go out for several quotes against the same item if you can, but do your own target setting for some of the key stuff that you're looking to outsource, just to have a good feel as to what you think would be a fair and reasonable price, so that you can challenge that and bounce it back with confidence to your suppliers to try and achieve a cost reduction to the price that they've quoted. And then supply negotiation techniques. There's plenty of material out there on the internet about how to conduct supply negotiations, how to prepare yourself for those, and we'll talk a bit about those later on. So the cost engineering workshops, I'm putting some slides up here that will just outline the sorts of material that you can be talking through or presenting, whether it's how to control costs, benchmarking activities with your previous vehicles, your competitors, and any other like products. We can be looking at details as to how to cost things such as wiring. Your electrical people can be supporting that for you. What are cost drivers, and what are the thoughts to drive you to look at reducing those costs right at the very beginning on your design? Again, there's material out there that can support you. Okay, if we take a typical example of a workbench that you'll see on this slide here, we often see in our industry quotes at 20, 30, 40 euros an hour for the use of a workbench in a factory. In reality, you're looking at no more than €1 an hour, and often it's less than that, depending on the shift patterns that are worked within the facility that's using it. So don't be afraid to challenge. If you don't believe something is fair, pressurize your supplier to explain why it's the price it's being quoted at. And there are examples here as to what you can be doing to sense check what a realistic hourly rate for facilities can be. Okay, this slide will show you a bit more detail of the construction of a calculator format for assessing the facility rates, the hourly rates for any facility. I've used a workbench here, but you can use the same principles. Doesn't matter what their facility is, whether it's 3D printing, whether it's molding, or even a press machine. When you're looking at the value engineering activities, don't leave it too late in the program. It needs to happen right at the very beginning. The window of opportunity to save on cost or to avoid cost is before you make any attempt to cut metal or to waste too much time on your resource, your staff resource, going down a path that ultimately will lead you to a high cost item or system or subsystem. So use the opportunity right at the beginning when you're working at concepts, when you're playing with ideas. What else can we do? How can we achieve this better, at a better value, at a lower cost, still achieving the performance you're looking for? And it can be done. The cost reduction strategy that's used in many companies is to do teardowns on your components, on your competitor components, on like components that you're looking to produce, just so you understand what goes into the manufacture. And again, it's an ideal opportunity for you to challenge what has been done on that product and how you can improve it on your design. Think about access when you're designing fixings and fasteners. Can they be put in easily? Can the grip on the fastener be improved somehow? Don't make the handling of those fasteners difficult. Just a simple example. It takes time to tie wrap everything or put tape around harnesses. Does it need to be fully taped, or can your harness be space taped to save cost again? And don't forget to include those costs in your cost of bill of materials, because we will be looking for them. In our industry, we're not just looking at improving the base cost of the product, we're also looking to improve the profitability of our end product. And that can be achieved in many ways. By looking at the volumes you're asking your suppliers to produce, instead of amortizing the setup times to produce maybe one part at a time, maybe order 2, 3, 4 parts. Let them set up once and amortize that cost of that time over the 4 parts rather than just doing it for every part. Again, it's lots of simple ideas. When you're looking at your suppliers' quotes, and they'll come in different formats, sometimes it's just a single line item. Don't be afraid to ask, how has this price been derived? How is it being calculated? Particularly if it's a bespoke part that you've put out for quotation, you can challenge what they've quoted for you, and you will more than likely get money off just by asking without delving into any more detail. But delve into that detail, because you'll be amazed how much money you can save. When you're supporting a supplier negotiation or going in to negotiate with a supplier, be confident. You stand there, and the confidence comes through the knowledge that you have, that your points of leverage in that negotiation are sound, that the information you've been working with can be presented, so that there's can be no challenge to what you're asking for. But it's all about the planning at the end of the day. Know what you want, know what you're prepared to accept, and know when to back off and say we'll go somewhere else. Okay, I'm just putting up a slide now looking at some of the key messages from supply negotiation techniques. I won't go through them, you can read them for yourselves. One of the things that we are focused on in the industry, the automotive industry particularly, is designing for assembly, making the design simple as it can be, minimizing your part count, designing with self-locating fixtures, without fasteners if you can, designing for retrieval and removal quickly. There's lots of ways you can look at that. An example I'm showing here is a simple staple remover. The standard staple remover that you'll all probably have on your desks is made up of about 10-12 parts, a mixture of metals and plastics. There's many more simple options available to you, and I've just shown another example here with a simple blade that's encapsulated in plastic. Does exactly the same job, same performance, but think of the assembly that you're saving. It's worth thinking about. Next, we're going into to have a look at some of the main cost drivers in your product, and some thought starters, some questions you should be asking yourselves around the commercial side of the business, any process improvements you can be making, any policy decisions you've made. Are those tolerances really necessary? Because the tighter the tolerance, the higher the cost. And certainly from a design point of view, does it need to be painted? Does it need to be glossy and shiny? Ask yourself these questions, because all those attributes cost something, and if they're not needed and they're not necessary, why have them? These next slides you'll be able to look through at your leisure, and there are many examples that you can, and questions that you can ask yourselves as to how you can reduce that cost. What are the cost drivers there? The commercial cost drivers and all the business cost drivers, the design, etc. There's a whole list of areas that you can be looking at. Okay. Keep your workshops tidy as well, because when we walk around the factories these days, even nuts and screws cost money. Don't be sweeping them up and putting in your pocket or throwing them away. Somebody's got to pay for those, so think about that as well. Okay, what we're looking for to take you above your peers at these competitions is that extra mile. It's the full picture that we're looking for, what you've done from start to finish. And it's the level of detail. You don't have to give us detailed breakdowns on the tool, the hourly rate for every tool that you've used, but just a few examples would demonstrate that you understand the principles. That's what we're looking for. With your calculation of labour, understand what the overheads and the labour cost elements are. There's again some examples here for you to understand that and to build that into your equation. The other area that we often challenge and we get no answers to are, where did your times come from? It's no good telling us that, well, we took the times that we checked into the facility to start work, and we checked the time when we stopped and left the facility. We need to understand how long the operation activities took. There's a lot of information again on the internet. We often use synthetic time data, and again, just put in some of the keywords I've just been talking about to see what's available to you. There's standard times for picking up a screwdriver, moving around the work area, loading a component into another assembly, or a piece of metal into a press. This information's out there. You can time operations yourself, but take into consideration all the contingencies that go around that activity. Who's put that material there for you to pick up? All that activity has got to be accounted for, because somebody's got to pay for your time to do it. Again, this slide I'm showing you now is giving you some examples of websites you can go to seek this information. Ask yourself, can I justify the times I've built into this cost report? Because you will be asked to. So, in summary, from a cost of manufacturing judging point of view, don't forget, read the rules over and over. Make sure that you're all familiar with them. Keep checking with the IMechE Formula Student websites for any updates. There's a lot of material out there now, particularly for cost of manufacturing the events. Don't assume somebody else has checked the information. You check it. The number of teams that we've looked at, even this weekend on this Formula Student event we're at now, people have assumed that somebody else has done it and they haven't, and they've lost points. Don't lose points because you've not checked. And it's the detail that we're looking for, that one step beyond your competitors. That will earn you the point and put you in the winning position. So good luck, and we'll see you here next year.